Welcome to Modern Psychedelics, where we explore the transformations made possible through intentional engagement with psychedelics. This podcast will help you integrate high consciousness living into the everyday and deepen the work ignited by altered states. You can expect balanced and grounded conversations around therapeutic, ceremonial, and recreational containers. My name is Lana Pribic, your host and guide. I am a 3-time certified professional life coach, and I work with people who want to integrate higher levels of consciousness into their daily lives so they can feel more peace, fulfillment, and connection. After all, our time here on Earth is so brief, so let's make sure we're really living. The song you hear is called Lost Horizon by Peace Sign. All right, let's journey. Okay, hello everyone. Episode 100. Wow. Funny story. When I first started the podcast 3.5 years ago, you'll notice that there's 3 digits in every episode number on the album artwork and on Spotify and Apple. There's 3 digits because I always intended to make it to the triple digits. I was fully committed from the beginning, and we are actually here today, which is so crazy. And it's actually really interesting timing that I am recording this, because this will be the last episode that I'm going to be recording in this space in my current home. And this is a very special home. I'm moving into the city for the summer, and I just have no idea where things will go from here. So it just feels like very cool that the 100th episode is being recorded at this time in this space. So since February 2021, I've released 100 episodes. It's been the journey of my life. And I just want to take a moment to just if you could just put your hand on your heart with me. You know, maybe if you're driving, don't do this, but if you could just put your hand on your heart and maybe just close your eyes with me and just receive this very heartfelt thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being committed to your healing and your transformation, and for believing in the power of the consciousness expansion that psychedelics provide us with to transform our world. That's why we are really here. So thank you. Thank you for the first 100 and to the next 100 and beyond. If you have been here since day one, wow, special thank you to you for sticking around for so long. Please slide into my DMs and let me know if you've been a long time listener. If you're a new listener, just welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. Reaching this milestone has taken a lot of commitment and dedication and hard work, but more than anything, and this is the topic of today's episode, it's been about playing the long game. Playing the long game. I love this term. You have heard me use it many times before, playing the long game. And I was like, you know what? I need to make an episode about playing the long game and not giving up. Needless to say, this journey over the years has been one of immense growth, both as a podcaster, as a media outlet, as a coach, also just as a human being. When I started, I didn't know much about podcasting other than that I loved podcasts and I had learned a lot from them. And alongside with documenting my own healing journey throughout the years with, it was ayahuasca and mushrooms at first, and then Iboga, 5-MeO-DMT, microdosing. I've really been very public and open about my experiences to inspire and to raise awareness. But I've learned so much about playing the long game in life, with medicine work, with transformational work and healing, and honestly in business as well. So I've really slowly but intentionally built my podcast and coaching practice over these last 3.5 years. It's only now that things are truly starting to take off. I have been planting seeds, watering seeds, planting seeds, watering seeds, non-stop over the years. And in the back of my head, I was always like, this is all worth it. This is all going somewhere. It's only recently, you guys, that I feel like I'm really finding my rhythm. I'm finding my stride. So for example, that looks like building a team. I have an assistant and a production team now. I actually have investors. I have a production company in Toronto that is investing in this show because they believe in this work that is being done. And that just means so much to me. And I'm sure I will be sharing more about that in the coming episodes. I'm starting to land sponsorships and work with brands to support the podcast. And just a word on that. I know it's annoying to listen to shows with, ads, and it's never expected for you guys to purchase anything. It's always nice if you do, but please understand that producing a podcast takes so much time, effort, and money. 10 to 15 hours go into every episode, especially if it's a guest interview. If it's a solo, it's probably more around the 5-hour range. And every other episode is a guest interview. In addition to that, it costs me about $200 to $300 just to put out a single episode. I don't make money from this podcast. This is truly my service to humanity. So if you hear sponsor ad rolls in the podcast and you're rolling your eyes, please just understand that this is what actually makes it possible to deliver this content to you guys for free. Okay. I just felt like I had to say that, but I'm starting to get sponsors on the show to support the podcast. And back to the long game, right? Playing the long game has resulted in just a profound transformation in my way of being in the world, in my identity, in how I move throughout the world, in how I think about the world, in how I think about myself, right? So I've really moved from this place of anger and victimhood and low self-worth into leading with love, or at least doing my very best to. Needless to say, both psychedelics and just approaching psychedelics, podcasting, business, life through the perspective of playing the long game has been so incredibly fruitful. So in today's episode, I want to talk about one of the most valuable skills I believe you can develop in life, the skill of playing the long game, trusting the process, and moving slowly but consistently. So many people out there listening understand this concept of trusting the process, but very few understand how to put it in practice. So I want to shine a little bit of light on that for you today. And of course, it's up to you to actually put some of the things that I am talking about today into practice. So let's just set an intention that we're going to listen to this episode and choose at least one of these tips and put them into practice and integrate it and integrate this idea of playing the long game. So what do I mean by playing the long game? In a world that's very obsessed with quick results and instant gratification, especially in spiritual communities and manifestation schools of thought, you guys, wow, it's really easy to get caught up in the idea of making things happen immediately. However, playing the long game is far more favorable for several reasons. When you stay present and you enjoy the journey, the quality of your outcomes improves significantly. Moving slowly, committing to the long game, it allows for deeper and more meaningful and sustained growth and development. You build a strong foundation when you're playing the long game and you're committed to it, which leads to more sustainable and authentic results. Plus, the process, it's more enriching. It offers continuous learning and personal transformation. So this episode is for anyone out there who is listening, who wants to create something truly special, something that reflects their authenticity and serves humanity, whether it's a business or a service, a relationship, or simply a shift in the way that you are being in the world. Playing the long game, to me, has been absolutely essential and is the cornerstone of my work as a psychedelics informed life coach who takes people through integration and prep with this kind of work. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to explore that space between where you are and where you want to be and how to truly make the most of it to the point where you are is exactly where you want to be. Okay? So how can we stay devoted, committed, and on course? I have 6 tips for you guys. Maybe grab a pen and paper or your notes app and make some notes as you listen in. So the first tip is very exciting. It is one of the very first things that I teach my clients in my one-on-one coaching program, and that is to embrace a mastery orientation in everything that you do. So this means focusing on the process of mastery rather than on the outcome. I learned about this idea during my IPEC training, and it was just one of those concepts that stood out to me so much and really informed how well I am able to stay on course in the long run. So to reference my IPEC training materials, I am actually going to read verbatim the difference between having a mastery orientation and having what is called a performance orientation. So here I go. IPEC says that there are two main types of perspectives for approaching any performance in life: a mastery orientation and a performance orientation. A mastery orientation refers to the desire to continually develop into the best you can be. You are performing in order to become more competent or more highly skilled than you already are. So in any moment, you're concentrating on what will help you perform better in the long run. With a mastery orientation, you are internally focused and tend to have high intrinsic motivation, meaning you're motivated because of the feelings of pleasure or satisfaction that you get from completing or working on a task. With a mastery orientation, you are not concerned with the outcome of any particular performance because you know no matter what has occurred, you can learn and grow from what happened and thus move closer to mastery. The second approach is a performance orientation. This is also called an ego orientation. People with a performance orientation perform in order to do better than others. They want to win and they compare themselves to others. Their sense of self-worth and values is tied up in how they perform, and therefore they judge outcomes as good or bad. People with a performance orientation are likely to be extrinsically motivated, and extrinsic motivation refers to the tendency to perform activities for known external rewards, whether they're tangible such as money or psychological such as praise in nature. So in terms of energy, in terms of maximizing our potential, a mastery orientation resonates at a higher level of energy and consciousness than a performance orientation does. So end quote there. So the interesting thing here about a mastery orientation is it's really interesting. The less concerned you actually are about the outcomes, the better the outcomes tend to be. This might sound strange, but think about it. When you are approaching life from this mastery orientation, it requires you to be fully present in the journey and fully present in what you are doing in that moment. In other words, all of your energy is fully engaged in that moment with this mastery orientation. Whereas with a performance or ego orientation, you're kind of thinking about, what do I need to do to win? What's that person doing over there? How can I do better than that person? How can I compete? So your energy is a little bit scattered and all over the place and therefore not fully focused on what you're doing, which can of course lead to less desirable outcomes. So while it may seem counterintuitive that focusing less on the outcome leads to better outcomes, I would encourage you to give it a shot and just see how it goes. So tip number 2 to play the long game in life and in medicine work is to stay committed and disciplined even in the face of setbacks and challenges. And there you go. I use that D word that can trigger a lot of people. Disciplined. I know. A lot of us have problems with that D word. So if you want to be successful in the long game, you simply just have to keep going. You have to keep showing up. It's just a process of continuing to show up. So you have to develop those skills of discipline, resilience, and bouncing back when things don't go the way that you want. So how can we develop the skills of discipline? Well, that's a little bit more nuanced and might be the work of, personal transformation or something a coach can help you with. But in general, when we're not disciplined, we really want to look at our energy around the thing that we are doing. What is holding us back? What is keeping us in resistance to continue to show up? Sometimes we're choosing to show up for something that actually we don't fully want. Maybe we think that it's the thing that we should do or that we think is the right thing to do rather than the thing that we actually want to do. This can all inhibit your sense of motivation and discipline towards anything that you are doing. So here, one thing I can say will help you to stay committed and disciplined even during setbacks is to cultivate a growth mindset. I'm sure many of you know what a growth mindset is. It's this idea where you view challenges as opportunities for growth. This is pretty much fundamental. If you are not actively working on training your brain to see challenges as opportunities, I urge you to start challenging yourself to do that. Know that as long as you are learning and growing, so this is what's going to help you do that. Even when you're faced with challenges or setbacks, as long as you learn and grow from those, you're winning. You're successful, regardless of the outcomes, because you're learning and growing, right? And if you're learning and growing, that's really what matters. So in medicine work, we know that each experience, whether it's challenging or blissful, can contribute something to your growth and understanding if you're just willing to be with whatever comes up, with whatever happens. To keep going doesn't mean that you can't take breaks. In fact, I think it's really valuable to take breaks. I think there's definitely something to be said about, detoxes from certain things, or just taking a step back to distance yourself, to reevaluate from a bird's eye perspective before going back to projects or a new medicine experience. I know that I've taken several breaks on my podcast over the year to kind of reevaluate, rebrand, rejig, kind of update the messages of the show to be in line with where I currently am, so that I have that flow of energy just freely flowing into the show, because I'm doing it based on what's alive and active for me right now, instead of forcing myself to do something in a way just because I've always done it that way, right? So for example, the show used to focus very much on this like ayahuasca, new age energy, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I'm not here to shit on that, but I found that was like kind of the very beginning of my journey with psychedelics. And as I kind of kept going on my path, I no longer started to necessarily resonate with these messages that you hear in new age spirituality. So I kind of had to like pause, take a step back, reevaluate, check in with myself, and then just update the show to reflect where I currently am at. So in playing the long game, expect and plan for pivoting, and trust yourself to know that you'll just know what's next as it comes up. It doesn't mean you have to make a decision right away. Like when I say you have to keep going, I don't mean you have to make a decision right away, just keep going no matter what. No, keep going, keep showing up, but give yourself space and pace when you need. To keep going doesn't just necessarily mean that you need to be doing it at the same frequency and with the same stamina at all times. Like to keep going can look very different along your journey. So if you need to adjust course, that's actually perfect. Right? Going back to my example, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of learning and growth and maturation. What once seemed like the way forward doesn't anymore, because your consciousness has evolved since you made the first plan. So it's okay to go back to the drawing board. Another example I can give of this was, if you are an OG listener, like pre-episode 40, I used to have a co-host. I had a co-host who did interviews with me. We did solo episodes together. We were in the podcast together. Well, that co-host left and did not want to take part in the podcast anymore. And I had this crisis at that time, because I thought, oh my God, how am I going to do it alone? Because when I first started 44 episodes ago, I was not in a place to have a podcast on my own. It took me a little while to realize, wait a second, hold on. Actually, there's an amazing opportunity here for me to create something that is just so me and so special and so authentic. And you know what? I've done 44 episodes. I have been doing this for a little while now, right? I think we did 2 seasons together, and I actually can do this, and I'm excited for this, and I see the opportunity ahead of me to do this. So in that moment, to keep going actually meant to take a pause and to reevaluate, right? Pausing doesn't necessarily mean stopping, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a setback, okay? So that's staying committed and disciplined even in the face of setbacks and challenges. Did you know that your problems don't come from the situations or circumstances themselves? Your problems are likely coming from how you approach them. More specifically, your problems might be coming from the level of consciousness that you approach them with. It's pretty simple. Here's how it works. Anytime something happens to you, you can approach the situation from various levels of consciousness. You can come from a low level of consciousness that perpetuates the problem and keeps you stuck, drained, hopeless, and under stress. Or you can come from a high level of consciousness that helps you move forward, because you can more easily tap into creative solutions and access your intuition. The good news is that At any given time, you can choose how you show up and therefore have a massive impact on how your life unfolds. The trick is to be aware of all of the options available to you, which most of us aren't. We're stuck in our default modes, which is why most of us feel stuck and unable to move forward. But that job that you hate, your codependent relationship, or the numbing anxiety of not knowing your purpose in life can be the exact thing that moves you forward and gives you clarity, as long as you're approaching it from a high level of consciousness. In my coaching program, I'll help you become hyper aware of your current approach and help you shift to higher levels of consciousness. By addressing those unconscious energy blockages keeping you stuck, we unlock flow, acceptance, peace, and joy in life. And this isn't woo-woo. I use a research-validated coaching method that's benefited thousands worldwide. So whether you're corporate or spiritual or both, this approach offers practical integration into daily life, and it happens to pair brilliantly with psychedelics. High consciousness living is achievable every day, not just during psychedelic experiences. Psychedelics surely illuminate the path, but it's our job to walk it every day. My coaching program will provide you with a grounded and operational way to integrate high consciousness into your daily life. I am currently onboarding new clients into my practice, so if you'd like to learn more about the program, visit modernpsychedelics.net/coaching. And if you're ready to do this work, go ahead and apply now and book a discovery call with me at modernpsychedelics.net/apply. I'll have both of those links in the show notes for you. All right, let's get back to the episode. Let's go to number 3. So the third tip for playing the long game in life, you guys are going to hate this one. I'm sorry, but you need to learn how to embrace patience. Understand that good things take time. It's the classic Rome wasn't built in a day, right? A tree only gets more beautiful with age. Give yourself, I would say 3 to 5 years to really build something or to heal something. Give yourself lots of time. We want to be careful with placing timelines and expectations on things. I'm just saying like 3 to 5 years because that's like a medium amount of time. You know, there are so many things that have taken me 3 to 5 years to build that when I first set out to do those things, I was like, oh yeah, easy. Like in 6 months to a year, when I first became a professional life coach, I decided to quit my corporate, cushy, well-paying job pretty much like 6 months into that, because I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm over this. I'm a coach now. I can do this. I can get clients. I regret doing that because it has taken a very long time for me to get to the point of having a fully booked practice. That has only happened recently for me, about, 2.5 years into being a coach. And I'm someone who has like a public platform, and there's plenty of people who tune into my podcast. And it still took a very long time for me to get to a point where I could consider myself a fully booked coach, where I'm like, I actually don't have the capacity to take on any more clients. So, have a plan, give yourself lots of space, and just do what you need to do to stay in your process. Again, you can have a plan and adjust course. It's important to be malleable and adaptable rather than rigid. Part of playing the long game is being adaptable because, right, when we go back to mastery orientation, the long game means learning and growing. And as you learn and grow, you're going to change, right? So you have to be malleable and adaptable. You have to be what's that word? Limber, right? You have to be like a gymnast, ready to make changes and adapt to different information and different ways of being at any point. So let's get back to the patience. So patience often involves surrendering the timeline that you think is best for you and letting life just show you the natural flow of how things unfold. Letting life take the wheel. Right? This is especially important with transformational work with psychedelics. I think a lot of people listening probably came to psychedelics because they're deeply unhappy with life and they maybe don't have a very empowering relationship with themselves and maybe they get in their way. I know that's what led me to psychedelics, and it was the moment that I surrendered my timeline that I feel things truly started moving forward for me. Up until that point, I had so much judgment and so much expectation on how long things should take and why is it taking this long, and why am I not healed yet, and why am I not over this yet, and it just took so much time to get back to me. So surrendering the timeline, practicing patience, leaning into the unknown, and just like literally not knowing how long something will take to build or heal, but continuing to show up either way. That is how we can embrace patience in the long game. If you feel rushed, right? If you are feeling like there's a timeline that needs to be put on something, just ask yourself, what is the rush? Literally, what is the rush? Get curious about it, right? What are you like trying to avoid by rushing? What are you trying to bypass? It's probably the answer to your next level right there. Like whatever it is that you are trying to avoid by rushing is the thing you need to look at to move faster. It's so ironic, but I really do see that that is true. Seriously, what are you rushing towards and why? Know that by rushing, right? By wanting to just get to the next stage, the next step, you are missing out on the biggest gift you will ever be given, which is the present moment, right? The only thing that we truly have for certain is right now. So when we are rushing and not honoring and respecting the present moment, we are just doing our life a massive disservice. Ooh, I feel that so much. I feel that so much. And I wish that I could have told that to myself, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So I don't know. I hope that is really landing for you guys listening. Progress often comes in these small and incremental steps. So celebrate the small victories and understand that lasting change takes time. I know you don't want to hear it. I know my manifestation people, my quantum leapers out there are like, nope, you're wrong. That's cool. That's fine. I come from the school of thought that good things take time, and moving slowly and allowing things to take their course is not a bad thing. It is just the natural way of life, right? We live in this human earth. We are a part of nature. We are not these quantum beings, star beings. I mean, that's just my orientation. Some people might feel differently, but we want to move with nature and we want to take our cues from nature and understand this like natural flow of life here on earth, which is where we actually do live our life. So in medicine work, integration is key. So allow time for the insights from your experiences to unfold and integrate into your daily life before jumping to the next experience. I know you guys know this. I'm just here to, drill it deeper into your mind. Yeah. So patience. And with that, let's just take a deep breath together. Before moving on to the fourth point. Yeah, let's take one more deep breath together. And just let everything that we've already talked about just sink in. Patience, staying committed, even in the face of setbacks and challenges, mastery orientation, right? Let's just let that sink in for a moment and see already we are integrating this idea of patience. Okay, let's move on to tip number 4 for playing the long game in life and in medicine work. So you're going to want to think about balance, right? Balancing things in life in the long term rather than the short term. So you have to understand that in the short term, you do have to make sacrifices. We often think that having a balanced life means that all these different pillars of our life are getting equal attention and energy. So these different pillars can be family, career, wellness and health, personal development, friendships, fun and enjoyment, like all these different areas in our life. We think that balance is putting the same amount of energy into each of those pillars. I want you guys to think of it a little bit differently. I want you to think of a balance in life in terms of balancing plates in your hand. So for all my ex-servers out there, it's pretty easy to balance like 3 plates in your hands, right? You can hold 2 plates in one hand and 1 in the other, and it's pretty easy to balance that. But when you try to balance 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 plates, in your hands, you're just like struggling to keep them balanced. You can't even do anything other than try to balance them all, right? So we want to think of each plate as a pillar in our life. So a good rule of thumb is to really devote your energy to 3, maybe 4 areas in your life at a time. So think of it this way, right? Maybe you're holding your health and wellness plate, your career plate, and your finance plate, right? And you're holding those things and you're pouring your energy into that. Some of those other areas in your life are going to need to take a back seat. You're going to need to sacrifice some things. If you're really career focused, for example, I am right now, your fun and enjoyment might be prioritized a little bit less, right? Your family time might be prioritized a little bit less. But here's the thing, you can put plates down. So let's say you are carrying those 3 plates and you're like, you know what? My health and wellness is feeling really good. I'm doing yoga, I'm meditating, I'm eating really well. I feel like I'm in a really good groove. It's just a part of my life. It's kind of just part of who I am now. I feel like I can put this plate down. I've invested enough energy to get myself here and I can put this plate down. I'm going to pick up this fun and enjoyment plate. And now I'm balancing these 3. So you can see that in the short term, we're not necessarily gaining quote unquote balance of every area, but in the long term, as we're picking up and putting down different plates, that's how we achieve balance in a lifetime, right? That's how we achieve balance over the long term. So if you're committed to playing the long game and getting those real results in the long run, remember that you have to make sacrifices. If you really want to commit to your healing journey or your business or to building a family, you will have to make sacrifices in other areas of your life for a time being. It's not forever. But when we try to play the long game with some things and then prioritize everything else in our life, it's going to be way too hard to balance everything. So other things will have to fall away, and that's okay. But use the power of your focus, of your vision to get clear on where you want to go, where you want your energy to flow, and prioritize from there. So I'll give you another example. When I was on my healing journey, in the depths of it, I could have cared less about my career and making money. That career plate and finances plate was just, I couldn't even look at them. Healing was my full-time job. I felt so horrible that I couldn't even begin to pick up those plates, right? I was really holding my, I guess it would be health and wellness plate and spiritual connection plate and just trying to keep myself alive plate. I had these elaborate 3-hour morning routines where I would read books on healing and personal development and journal and, listen to podcasts. And I was probably doing therapy and courses and all of that. And let me tell you, the healing journey was a long game for me. And I had these 3-hour morning routines because I really needed them at the time. But now that I'm kind of on the other side of that, I've put that plate down a little bit. And I've picked up my career plate and my finances plate, which were a little bit neglected. So we can see here that in the long run, I am achieving balance, right? So yeah, just think of balance a little bit differently and you will be more successful doing things and committing to things in the long run. So the 5th tip I have for you is to trust the process. How many times have you guys heard someone tell you to trust the process? And you're like, what does that even mean? What process? What's the process? What am I trusting here? Right? I don't blame you because there's a lot of words and phrases that get thrown a lot in the personal development and healing spaces. And you're just like, okay, trust the process. But wait, what does that even mean? So the process that you are trusting, it's going to go back to the mastery orientation. There's a reason I introduced that at the beginning. The process that you are trusting is the process of learning and growing. So remember that you are a work in progress and you will continue to be a work in progress until the day that you leave this earth. I like to think of myself as this masterpiece, this work of art that I get to kind of work away at and shape and carve and paint and add things to and take things away from. And I'm kind of going to keep doing that until the day I die. And the day that I die, the masterpiece is finished, right? So thinking about this in terms of how do you want this masterpiece that is you, this work of art that is you, to look and be at its finality, right? When we are playing the long game, we know that we're a work in progress and that progress will never end. And that process of engaging in the process, there's no end to it. So we trust and we have faith in ourselves to continue to learn and grow and shape ourselves. So you can use all of the skills and potential that you already have to stay on your path of mastery, trusting that all that you put out is leading to something, even if you don't quite know what that is. If you plant the seeds and you water the garden, something is going to grow. And you know what? It's probably going to be way more beautiful than you could have ever even imagined. So just trust that you are always doing your best and that your best may vary from day to day. But as long as you keep showing up, it's that signal to yourself that you are indeed trusting the process because you are continuing to show up for it. I also want you guys to enjoy this process. The more you can kind of get present and really embrace this mastery orientation, remember to enjoy, right? You have to do what you enjoy, or at least find a way to enjoy what you are doing, treating this as a journey of growth and learning. And if you treat it like a journey of growth and learning, it just becomes a lot easier to enjoy and to celebrate yourself. And the sixth tip that I have for you on how to play the long game in life and in medicine work is to just keep going, even if the results aren't there yet. The yet is in brackets. So it really is that simple. Use all of the tips above to just keep going. This is some more IPEC wisdom for you guys. One of the biggest challenges you will face when you commit to playing the long game is to keep going, even when the results aren't there yet, right? It's, okay, how much longer do I have to keep doing this, not get any results? To keep going, just recognize that every experience has value. In order to see that all experiences have value, you need to be willing to release expectations or attachments that you have to specific results. So each experience serves you if you let it, and can be turned into a purposeful lesson, a purposeful moment for you in your life. Even when things don't go your way, there's always a lesson to be learned. So many people confuse finding a purpose with finding a reason. So let's break this down. There's a very important distinction here. So seeking a reason often involves asking yourself, well, why did this happen? And you're asking yourself that in order to identify a cause or assign blame. Right? You're looking for someone or something to blame so that you can understand why something happened, right? That's finding a reason. This can lead to self-doubt and questioning yourself, your plans, your direction, and losing faith, right? And it prevents you from moving forward because instead of being solution focused, you're taking a problem focused approach. Like, what is causing this problem? Why did this happen? So shifting to finding a purpose sounds like, what did I learn that will help me the next time? Notice that this allows you to be much more open, and it shifts the focus to that growth and learning that we love and that is necessary for playing the long game. So this shift in perspective is very simple, but very significant. So the next time something happens, instead of looking for blame and asking yourself, why did this happen? Ask yourself, what did I learn, or what can I learn here that will help me next time and help me keep going and staying on my path? Those who seek reasons will remain stuck in the past, while those who seek purpose look towards growth and mastery and successfully will play the long game in life and in medicine work. If you are able to accept what happened and learn from it and move forward, then you are doing it. You are keeping the momentum going. In medicine work, this can be very useful when a ceremony or experience, throws you a curveball and maybe you don't feel like integrating that experience. Well, just keep going and remember that every experience can have a purpose, but it's up to you to define what that purpose is rather than the reason. So there you have it. Those are my 6 pro tips for playing the long game in life and with medicine work. I promise you guys that this approach will give you the results you're looking for. Just give it time, practice that patience. Here are those key takeaways for playing the long game. So 1, embrace a mastery orientation in everything you do. 2, stay committed and disciplined, even in the face of setbacks and challenges. 3, embrace patience. 4, Think about balance in the long term, not the short term. Number 5, trust the process. And number 6, keep going even if the results aren't there yet. So thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey to episode 100. Remember that playing the long game and trusting the process leads to richer, more sustainable outcomes. Keep going, stay present, embrace every step of your journey. If you've been with me since day one, again, thank you so much. Please send me a DM. I would love to hear from you. And if this type of content around personal development is resonating with you and it feels like something you'd like to lean into during your journey, check out my one-on-one coaching program and you can apply to work with me if you feel that would support your transformation. And if you enjoy this episode, please leave a 5-star rating or review on Spotify or Apple. Still trying to get up there to 200 5-star reviews. So we're almost there, guys. It takes 3 seconds. All you have to do is scroll up in the Spotify app. When you're in the Modern Psychedelics profile, scroll up to the top, click the 3 dots on the right-hand side, click rate show, and just smash that 5 stars to send a little bit of love into the Modern Psychedelics world. Appreciate you so much. If you have any suggestions for topics you'd like me to cover, I'm always open to hearing your ideas. I love to be of service to you and help you on your transformational journey. Until next time, please stay intentional, be safe, be smart, and stay committed to your long game and the journey. I promise you, it's worth it. All right, I'll talk to you in next week's episode. Sending you a big hug. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to and supporting the show. To stay in touch, sign up for my mailing list, which can be found in the show notes or on modernpsychedelics.net. If this episode sparked something within, please let me know by leaving a review of the Modern Psychedelics podcast on Apple and Spotify. This really helps to share these messages with those who need them, which is the whole reason why I do what I do. And if you haven't already, come join the ongoing conversation over on Instagram with other beautiful souls. We have an incredible and conscious community over at the handle Modern Psychedelics. And don't forget that the work begins after you come back down to earth. And I'm standing shoulder to shoulder, doing it with you.